This is Providence Television International, the game changer.
This is the Week in Review on Providence Television International. You are welcome. I am Ugbebo Ikekwa. Before we go straight to activities that took place within the week, let's take this commercial.
Vacancies. A reputable hotel in Benin City is in need of the following personnel for immediate employment. 1. Hotel manager. 2. Female receptionist. And 3. Supervisor and specialist in housekeeping. Applicants must be between the ages of 30 and 45 with at least 5 years experience. Qualification, at least an OND from a recognized institution. Computer knowledge will be an added advantage. Salary, very attractive with lots of fringe benefits. All applications must be accompanied by photocopies of applicants' credentials and CV, in addition to 2 referees and their telephone numbers. The applications should reach the advertiser on WhatsApp number 08033511599 or submitted at Providence Television International, 42 Igbesaman Street, Bairia Junction, Benin City, not later than Thursday, March 27, 2025. Please note that only shortlisted applicants will be invited for the formal interview. Signed, Management.
The concerned constituents of Kogi Central Senatorial District have firmly rejected any attempt to recall their senator, Natasha Tinubu'S, following her suspension from the Nigerian Senate. In a statement issued by Honorable Abdul Rahman Badamasi, coordinator, convener, on Monday, the constituents declared their unwavering support for Tinubu'S and warned against any attempt to fraudulently remove her from office. They also called on the Senate to immediately reverse her suspension, emphasizing that it is illegal and a violation of democratic rights which deprives them of representation in the National Assembly. The Nigerian Air Force on Tuesday disclosed that the precision airstrike against Boko Haram enclaves in Chikide and Degbewa in Borno State inflicted heavy losses on the terrorist group. Deputy Director of Public Relations and Information, Group Captain Kabiru Ali, stated that surveillance confirmed the presence of a fortified command hub with solar-powered installations, prompting the service to execute a surprise night attack. He emphasized that the operation destroyed key logistics and command structures, igniting large fires and neutralizing scores of terrorists. The 2023 presidential candidate of Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, has slammed the National Assembly for approving President Bola Tinubu's declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State, emphasizing that two-thirds majority cannot be determined through voice vote. Mr. Peter Obi stated that the action is contrary to Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, that requires a resolution of the National Assembly supported by two-thirds majority of members to back the President's request. The 2 chambers of the House on Thursday approved President Bola Tinubu's declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State, which resulted in the suspension of Governor Siminalayi Fubara, his deputy and other elected officials for 6 months, and the appointment of a sole administrator by voice vote. Peter Obi condemned Nigeria's current democratic system, describing it as transactional and lacking true opposition. His remarks followed the parliamentary vote, which he claimed exposed fundamental flaws in the nation's democracy. He emphasized that lack of proportional representation in Nigeria's legislature weakens accountability and distorts electoral outcomes. Mr. Obi warned that unless urgent reforms are implemented to enforce party discipline and ensure fair representation, Nigeria's democracy will remain fragile and dysfunctional. The apex socio-political body for the South-South geopolitical zone, the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, has condemned in very strong terms the 6-month suspension of Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State by President Bola Tinubu. Rising from an emergency meeting of the Board of Trustees and expanded National Executive Committee yesterday, PANDEF stated that with the action, President Tinubu stabbed the Niger Delta in the back. In a communique issued at the end of the meeting, Pandef called on the National Assembly led by Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Speaker of the House of Reps Tajuddin Abbas and the entire members of the Assembly to show courage and be on the side of truth by rejecting totally the onslaught on democratic governance in Rivers State. The organized labor in Nigeria demands the immediate reversal of what it calls an unconstitutional state of emergency in Rivers State in the interest of democracy, economic stability, and the welfare of Nigerian workers. In a statement jointly signed by the presidents of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Ajero, and the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, Festus Osifo, condemned Mr. President's hasty and unconstitutional declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State, emphasizing that the action violates provisions of Part 2, Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution as amended and constitutes an overreach of executive power. And in the same vein, the South-South Governors Forum has called for the reversal of the state of emergency in Rivers State that was declared by President Bola Tinubu. The statement issued on Thursday was signed by the chairman of the South-South Governors Forum, Governor Doye Diri of Bayelsa State in Yenagoa, the state capital. The forum also called for dialogue as a path forward and encouraged all parties to remain calm, uphold peace, and the constitution of the country. A veteran media practitioner, Dr. Emmanuel Egariva, has decried the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State, emphasizing that due process with regards to the rule of law was not adhered to. Dr. Egariva disclosed this during an interview session on Providence Television International. He stressed that the rule of law must be upheld at all times, stating that the principles of democratic rule are founded on the rule of law, and once eroded, it creates room for arbitrariness. Dr. Egariva called on President Tinubu to have a rethink of his decision, noting that the concept of imposing a sole administrator on the electorate is alien to democratic practices.
I think there are a few questions that remain to be answered based on the declaration of the state of emergency. One, why was Wike left out in the president's speech, knowing the role he had been playing in the problem in Rivers State? He has been the front person in all these problems. And I thought that it could just have been mentioned as playing specific roles in what led to the declaration of the state of emergency. Nothing was heard about him. That's question number one. Question number two, was there proper dialogue between the president and the National Assembly before the declaration? Because even some of them are saying now that, yes, the president will have come to dialogue with all of them, not just the principal officers, okay? And it was done with benefit of hindsight. The president had proclaimed the state of emergency before the National Assembly now rubber-stamped it, as it were. So that's...
Human rights activist Omoyele Sowore on Monday disclosed that the Youth Corps member Uche Ugwamaye, who criticized President Bola Tinubu's administration over hardship, is under tremendous pressure to apologize. Sowore, who accompanied the Corps member to the NYSC Local Government Inspector's Office in Lagos alongside a team of lawyers, insisted that the Corps member committed no crime by exercising her freedom of expression in criticizing President Tinubu's administration. In a now viral video, the Lagos-based Corps member Ugwamaye on Saturday criticized President Bola Tinubu's government, expressing frustration over Nigeria's worsening economic conditions, lamenting the high inflation and economic hardship. 17 out of the 18 local government chairmen in Edo State on Wednesday defected from the People's Democratic Party to the ruling All Progressives Congress. However, the acting chairman of Oredo local government, Harrison Izeko, was absent from the defection ceremony, which took place at the new festival hall in the government house. The defection comes days after PDP lawmakers in the State House of Assembly defected to the APC, giving the ruling party majority status in the legislature. On Monday, Governor Pueblo welcomed the new members to the APC. Nigeria recorded its first win of the 2026 World Cup qualifying campaign on Friday thanks to a brace from striker Victor Osimhen, which secured a 2-0 victory over Rwanda at the Amahoro Stadium in Kigali. Osimhen netted 2 first-half goals to mark his first involvement in the qualifying series and also took his national team tally to 25 goals. The match against Rwanda was Eric Shelay's first game in charge, winning Rwanda for the first time in 20 years at the Amahoro Stadium in Kigali. With the result, Nigeria now sits at the 4th position with 6 points after 5 matches. The Confederation of African Football has announced the details of the dates, kickoff times and venues for the Total Energies CAF Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2025 fixtures. The 15th edition of the Continental Showpiece will be contested by 16 nations between March 30th and April 19th, 2025. A total of 4 stadiums will play host to matches during the tournament, namely the El Bashir Stadium in Mohammedia, the Labi Zoli Stadium and Berechit Stadium, both in Casablanca, as well as the El Abdi Stadium in El Jadida. Proceedings get underway at the El Bashir Stadium on Saturday, March 30th, when tournament host Morocco play East African champions Uganda. Nigeria's Kadri Haruna has overtaken Egypt's Omar Assar to become Africa's highest-ranked player, sitting at 18th position in the Week 12 ranking released on Tuesday. Despite finishing as runner-up at the 2025 ITTF Africa Cup, Haruna's impressive performances at the WTT tournaments this year boosted his ranking. He remains the only African male player to have reached the semi-finals of the WTT Contender Doha, repeating his 2023 feat earlier this year in January. And to the exchange rates, $1, its equivalent in Naira, is presently 1,559, €1, 1,686 Naira, £1 now stands at 2,014 Naira, and the Canadian dollar, 1,086 Naira. And that has been the week in review. Thanks for watching. Please stay tuned.